Welcome guys to my YouTube channel Rare Science Simple, and let's make the science simple. As you know, I'm giving lectures on population genetics, and if you have not watched my videos on population genetics, please do watch them. And without doing any delay, let's start this new topic of population genetics, which is migration. So what is migration? So migration is the process of the movement of organisms among the subpopulations that acts as a sort of genetic glue that hold the subpopulation together genetically, and it keeps the different populations more similar to each other, preventing them becoming too genetically distinct. So let's understand this. For example, if suppose there are many populations here, let's say this is the population here and there are subpopulation, and there are so many organisms A, B, C is it living. Here this is the subpopulation where let's say D, E, F organism is living, and let's say C migrate to this subpopulation. This is subpopulation 1, this is subpopulation 2. When the C is migrating to this second subpopulation, and let's say C is multiplying with this F and is producing, let's say, G. So G is going to be genetically similar to this particular population. So that holds the genetic subpopulation, that acts as a glue that holds a subpopulation together. So that's what it means. And the migration could be of two types. One is the one-way migration. Whenever there is a migration from one place to the another place, but the reverse is not true. Means suppose C is migrating to F, but then the C cannot again migrate to this particular subpopulation, or F cannot migrate to this subpopulation 1. So it's a one-way migration. When the migration takes place from one population into another without an equal amount of migration, suppose this is the mainland, so only from this mainland the migration will happen to this particular land, but from this particular land they cannot migrate back to this mainland. So this is known as the one-way migration. If they went there, they cannot come back, or the organisms living in this land cannot come back to this one. So this is known as the one-way migration. In the one-way migration, the allele frequency changes in this formula, where the PT is the allele frequencies after T generation, P asterisk is the allele frequency in the mainland, the P0 is the allele frequencies in the subdivided population. And then there is another model, which is the island model of migration. The difference between the one-way and the island model of migration is this, and in case of the one-way migration, there is reverse migration is not possible. In case of the island migration, reverse migration is possible. So the island model of migration is a simple population genetics model that describes gene flow between multiple subpopulations or subpopulations that are geographically separated but still connected by some migration. For example, let's understand this. If suppose there are these are different island, and they are separated because of some river or some barrier or mountain, but then the organism living in this particular island A, they migrate to this C. Similarly, the organism can migrate from B to C, or A to C, or C to A, or B to C, like this. Okay, so there is a gene flow between multiple population or subpopulation that are geographically separated. These A, B and C are geographically separated, but they are still connected by some migration. So best example is the birds example. Birds can fly from one place to another place. So this is an example of island model of migration. In the island model of migration, any kind of migration that prevent the species becoming too different genetically, because what happened, let's say you have the genetic drift, and there are suppose in the pot there are round seeds and the wrinkled seeds. Let's say there are 100 round seeds and 100 wrinkled seeds, because there is a random selection of sampling. So you may randomly select 50 round seeds and let's say 20 wrinkled seeds. In the next generation you will select all 50 round seeds. So after few generation you will be getting only the round seeds. But what happened, because of the migration, some of the wrinkled seeds can come here, and in this case you may select the round seeds as well as the wrinkled seeds. So the population that will become only round is going to be, it will take time. So it prevent the subpopulation from becoming too different genetically, because what happened initially, you are having the combination of seeds which could be round, which could be wrinkled, but after few generation you are having only round seeds. But if there is a migration, then this population will take time in the formation, that the formation of the only the round seeds will take time. So it basically it prevents the subpopulation from becoming too different genetically. Okay. So this is the formula, which is PT is the allele frequency at GT generation, P is the average allele frequency, M is the migration rate, and P0 is the initial frequency, and P is the again the average gene frequency. So you know the initial frequency, let's say of A is 0.2 and 0.8 of the two populations. So you can take the average, which is 0.5. So P is the average, which is 0.5. M is the migration rate. If suppose 10% of the organism is migrating, then the M is 0.10. So 1 minus 0.0, they are asking after 10 generations. So you can write 10 here, 10 here, and that 0.2 is the average gene frequency, initial gene frequency, and again the P is the average gene frequency, which is 0.5. Similarly, for the second population, which has the allele frequency 0.8, you can simply replace 0.2 by 0.8 and you will be getting the allele frequency after T generation. So this is just a replacement. Add P value, which is 0.5, add M value, which is 0.10, add P0 value, which is 0.2, and 0.2 for one population, 0.8 for another population, and P again is 0.5. Okay, so in this way you can calculate it. Now, what is speciation? Speciation is the formation of the new species, and it could be formed because of the geographical barriers such as the mountain range, river, or desert. And the best example is the Darwin's finches, because it arises because of the volcanic eruptions that divided the population. So it's like a physical barrier is giving rise to the formation of new species. In case of the sympatric speciation, this is the new species are arising because of the reproductive isolation. So for example, let's say if these are the apple maggot flies, and apple maggot flies, they are laying their eggs on hawthorns. But let's say some of the flies, they do not like hawthorns, so they try to find some new host. Or suppose all of the hawthorns are busy, then they try to find new hosts so that they can also lay their eggs, and in this way they find the mild type apple tree and they lay their eggs here. Now they are getting their colleagues on this apple tree only, so they will prefer to go to this apple tree instead of this apple tree and in this hawthorn tree. And after some time, what will happen, this will give rise to the formation of the new species, and the new species are arising because of the reproductive isolation. It means some of the apple maggot flies try to reproduce on the hawthorns and other flies try to reproduce only on the apple trees, and the reason could be many. They do not like the smell, there are some ecological factors, they maybe all of the trees hawthorns are busy, like that. So in a simple term, if you talk about, in a simple term, you can say a group of insects that once used only one fruit is split into two groups when they discovered apples. So a group of insects that once used only one fruit is split into two groups when they discovered apples. Over time, they adapted to their specific fruit and started to become more and more different, potentially becoming two new species. So this is you can see the Darwin's finches. This is the apple maggot flies, which is laying its eggs on the hawthorns, and this is the apple maggot flies which are laying their eggs on only on the apple trees, and that is why the reproductive isolation occurs, which is known as the sympatric speciation, and the new species basically arise. So that's all about this lecture, and if you like the content of my lecture, please subscribe my channel. Rare Science Simple, and thank you so much.